Season 1, Episode 3, Chazin-the-Dream podcast, interview with Seth Romanek of Romanek and Skolnick Law Firm. To commence shortly.
Oh no.
No, relax. Take a pause, deep breath, go for yours. On my command, now hit the dance floor. Gonna make you sweat till you bleed. Good morning, but I can't see you.
That's what the O and O was for.
Oh no.
Oh, there we
There
go.
he is. There he is. Look at you, shirt and tie, dude. You're making me, as always, look bad. So logistics straight up front. I already hit the record button, so all of the intro stuff will be edited out by Diego, my partner. We'll go right in. It's 30 minutes chill time. First 10 minutes, I really want to pick your gray matter on your experiences throughout your career. The things, one of the things that you said that I'm going to read in the intro you were kind enough to send me is all of your experiences and navigating through challenges. So that's what we're going to kind of go into. And now that you've built this amazing reputation around your firm, what it is that you want to do next year and beyond, as far as even further building a culture that's going to allow your firm to continue to be known as resident experts in your practice areas. And we'll just wrap up about 30 minutes into it. How do you feel?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. It's Monday morning. I got a good workout this morning. Got my cup of coffee. I'm in the office. I'm chasing my dream, my friend.
Dude, you're a beast. You actually had a workout this morning?
Oh yeah, I do. Almost every morning.
Amen. I mean, I can't stop eating over the last 6 months, but I did my back and shoulders workout. I have a lot of free weights. I put the laundry downstairs in the machine while my wife was still sleeping, made her latte. So look, the rest of the day after I talk to you is all gravy.
Yes. Hey,
so
it's a good workout making a latte for your wife, and it keeps the wife happy. Happy wife, happy life too, right?
Well, you're an attorney, so you'll appreciate this. Not only is that in the appendices in the supporting documentation in case we go to trial, it actually says on every footer page of my 600-page marriage contract, starter husband. So yeah, you ready to jump right in?
Hey man, I'm ready.
All right, dude, let's do it old school. Put the needle on the record. So we'll wind down from 3, 2, 1, then we'll jump right in. So ready?
No time like the present.
Okay, then. 3, 2, 1. Good morning. Welcome to Chazin-the-Dream. I'm your host, Ethan Chazin, a New York-based human development coordinator and coach. I'm so excited to have with us today on Chazin-the-Dream for one of our first few episodes, Seth Romanek. So let me just give you a little bit of background into Seth. Throughout his career in the legal profession, Seth has managed to navigate his way through many different roles. He and I were talking previously about his experiences from going to be a substitute teacher to landing a position as a bank attorney, where he led real estate transactions. And one of the things that I was talking to Seth about was along the journey of his career, he's been able to navigate through quite a few challenges, which is pretty much a testament to his resilience and his being able to adapt throughout a career in the legal profession. In fact, his professional pursuits took a turn about 20 years ago when he launched or co-founded his firm, Friedman and Romanek, which specializes in real estate law. And despite setbacks along the way, Seth has managed to grow his firm to a 10-person practice and establish a tremendously powerful reputational brand as a top real estate firm here in New York. So without further ado, I'm so excited to jump into our conversation. Good morning, Seth.
Hey, Ethan, thanks for having me on Chasing the Dream. I'm so excited to be on your podcast this morning.
As am I, my brother. So one of the things I wanted to share with you, or kind of jump right into, is you and I were talking previously about what it takes to succeed in the law. And in the intro, I mentioned that you were kind enough to share some challenges that you overcame throughout your career before you established your own practice. So I wanted to ask if you could share with the audience what some of those challenges were, and maybe what some of the takeaways were for you, especially as you launched your own firm and some of the things you do with your people.
Yeah, it's funny. I think challenge number one that faced me in my career, number one was finding a job out of my law school year was not an easy task. Somehow I think I graduated in 99, I was getting a job in 2000, and law jobs for people who weren't in like that top tier of the law class were, they were somewhat few and far between. I actually tried to get a job working for district attorneys, um, Manhattan district attorney, Kings County district attorney. I even tried some of the outer boroughs and Nassau, Suffolk, that kind of thing, and didn't have an easy time doing it. I had actually had a super sense of social justice growing up and thought that I could be this amazing prosecutor who would be justice for all, and it just wasn't looking like getting one of those top prosecutor jobs or the U.S. Attorney's Office was working out for me. I just didn't have, I guess, the political connections. And as time went on, I think maybe going into the public sector started making more sense to me.
Mm.
And I did get offered a couple of like really far north prosecutor jobs or public defender jobs, but it would have taken me away from my girlfriend at the time, who's now my lovely wife, and she didn't want me so far away, and I didn't really want to commit to being upstate for 2.5 years or whatever the commitment was that you had to agree to stay in those counties. So a good friend of mine in law school was kind enough to get me an in at a personal injury firm up in Rockland County, where I was living at the time with my folks. And the guy had a very successful personal injury practice, but he was a definitely a shark. He was just your typical um super well groomed, driving around in a fancy convertible, spray tan, polished fingernails, cocky, personal injury attorney kind of a guy. And working for him, super type A, um, I guess the word would be control freak, sort of attorney lunatic, was my first delve into the law, into the job of working as an attorney. So I was working actually as a somebody with a JD who hadn't learned yet if they passed the bar or not. I had taken the bar in July,
Yeah.
took the job in like August after I had taken a nice trip to Europe with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and started working at this personal injury firm. The personal injury work itself was kind of cool. It was every little case that I would work on, I would take from inception to attending client depositions, attending client interviews with, they used to have like for the personal injury cases, they would have medical exams, and this attorney believed in going to the medical exams with the clients, which was a little bit weird for a young guy to go to a medical exam
Yeah.
with with clients, but he did it. He had them do it, and the clients would have me go into the medical exams with them. I don't think anybody's ever gone into a medical exam with me as an adult, and I don't think I would ever do that to a client, but that was his forte. um so I started working for this guy, but he was a difficult person to be working for. um he had weird rules. He would not reach his arm out to hand me something that he was giving to me. He had like a no reach rule. So wherever he was, he would just kind of like put his hand out just a little bit, and I had to walk over and grab the thing.
I gotta jump in. I mean, first job at a law school, working with a guy with a really, really strong, I guess, defined presence. I mean, what? So the first gig, right? And so obviously it's formative because you and I talked about him last time. What's the takeaway? Like, what as you're kind of progressing now and you're navigating through your career, what's the takeaway from just that experience, which maybe you think a little bit about from time to time as you're interacting with your people?
It's funny. Number one, I felt super disrespected by the guy.
Mm.
Whether it was one time I walked into a courtroom with him, he took me to court with him. We walked into the courtroom. He looked at me and he said, "Hey, um, where's my briefcase?" And I said, I don't know where your briefcase is." And he said, "You're an associate." He said, "I would have thought that you would have gone into my trunk and carried my briefcase for me." I said, "Well, I probably would have if the guy would have asked me to, but that was just a weird experience to like be in the courtroom. The guy knew he didn't have it with him and that he was trying
Yeah.
to like put me in a weird spot." Now, I could give you 35 examples about how that guy tried to like sort of break me down, but the truth of the matter is it culminated in the fact that I left that job one day before I found out if I even passed the bar exam,
Oh, wow.
and would rather have just not been employed at the time, when I was starting out my law career than be working for some kind of douchebag who was pulling stuff like that.
Okay, that's kind of I love the fact that you're kind of talking about the impact on him just repeatedly disrespecting or the lesson learned from
Right.
you taking away from that. And I guess my curiosity is so because you have mentioned that you've had a pretty robust depth and breadth of career in the legal profession. So you kind of don't even know if you're kind of a member of the bar and you leave him. So like, where'd you go next, and kind of what was the takeaway, and what other examples that
Okay.
you've been able to take advantage of, especially again as we're thinking about you still growing your practice from you and a co-founder partner to other people who rely on you for their livelihood.
Right. So I want to backtrack to a question you asked me before, which I skirted, and went into a tangent. But you asked me how that might have impacted how I treat my employees or
Yeah,
deal with
yeah.
my people. And I can tell you that number one, everybody in my office, whether it's the FedEx lady who comes in here, who's not really, doesn't work here, but to the the sanitation crew, to my amazing paralegals, to my associate, and my partner, everybody in here is family, and everybody in here is treated as if we are, number one in the group, and nobody here is beneath anything, and I'm certainly not beneath doing every single level of work that ever needs to be done in my office.
So you don't expect other people to literally carry your briefcase?
No, I would rather carry other people's briefcases.
Mm.
I mean, I wouldn't, obviously we don't carry each other's briefcases, but what I'm
Metaphorically.
what I'm saying is yes, everybody in our and everybody here has important I mean, pride is important. Knowing that you're respected is important, and everybody in my office has like a culture of just family, and everybody's together, and everybody's in it together, and it's really worked out really nicely. I mean, if you can, not you can, but we have a text group in my office. Um, and everybody who works in my office, all like eight or nine of us are on the text group, and I mean we know what each other are eating. We know when we're having a parade, we know we're having a good day. um Everybody takes pictures of their kids, everybody takes pictures of their Christmas pageants. We all joke around about the football games or whatever pop culture show we're all watching together, and everybody's in it together, and just having a family unit in the office just makes the business run better. It makes our family dynamic in the office better.
And that's one of the things I wanted to follow up on. I really appreciate you're kind of talking about this thing that you're cultivating, right? Which is the sense of family, or I guess shared mission, and how do you do that, and what was formative in terms of other experiences besides, as you said, not me, the douchebag?
All right. So, I guess we're taking step two after leaving the douchebag.
Mhm.
Wound up, I wasn't able to get a job right away. Um, as I was sending out back then, they didn't really, I think, even really have websites. We were just like looking in the New York Law Journal and like
Right.
making applications to jobs in the Wall Street Journal and things like that. And while I was waiting, I ended up substitute teaching as a kindergarten teacher for in the school where my mother was teaching in the Bronx for a while, and it ended up being like an English as a second language class where they just needed somebody to come in and substitute. I think that the teacher, the regular teacher, was sick. I was there for a few weeks or a month before I ended up getting another job, and I've got to say it was one of the most rewarding, fun, difficult, exhausting times of my life. But I got to spend a lot of time with some really awesome kids and teach them, and they taught me.
So one of the things I have to mention is when you and I were talking about your experience previously, and you mentioned this gig, and I shared with you my wife has spent her career in the legal profession, and I almost joked with you that I would imagine learning how to navigate interactions with kindergarten students is probably very helpful in dealing with some clients and opposing counsel and difficult judges. So yeah. I mean, because you said it was one of the most rewarding experiences, and I really, if you don't mind, go a little bit deeper into why.
Because those kids absolutely loved me. And I mean, that was it. Just going into work every day and having smiling kids, and they're drawing you pictures and they're writing you stories and they're telling you what happened over the weekend, and they're telling people from home what's happening in the classroom. It was just really cool. Um,
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, I mean, I don't know if you kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into any other experiences that you felt were formative as far as helping you and your partner build out your practice, or treat your employees a certain way, but just anything else you thought it was important to share as far as the narrative arc of your career and how that's made you a stronger leader.
Sure. So when we started out, the current iteration of my firm, which is now Romanek and Skolnick PLLC, with my partner John Skolnick and our associate Todd Schwartz, um, probably the three best real estate attorneys in New York, just in case anybody's looking. Um,
And there'll be all sorts of links. We'll put links to the firm's website. Yep.
Thank you for that. So when John Skolnick and I started doing bank closings on a grand scale, we were representing a lot of Wells Fargo, Citibank, Chase at the
Mhm.
time, um, Citizens Bank, TD Bank. We really went in with a mantra that we were going to take the little people, the people who were the processors, people who were answering the phones in the processing centers, the people who were the closers. We weren't necessarily catering to the big vice presidents, the managers, the lending managers and things. We just started to be really nice to all the people who everybody else was kind of like dumping on, and make sure that we respected them, make sure that we gave them everything that they needed, that we were super nice and polite to them, that we were asking please for documents, that we were sending them cookies on Christmas or something like that. Just and we decided to take that approach with every every little guy that we were dealing with, whether it was a loan officer's assistant or somebody just starting out, a new real estate broker, for example. Just take your time, help new people along, um, treat everybody as if that they are the big shot. And I'll tell you what, like it really did work out in the long run, because a lot of these people who were in the back office, the the little guys, later on in their careers became managers, became hot loan officers, became
Yep.
really good real estate brokers. And those people really did, um, over the course of the years, become great sources of business for us
Yeah.
and great advocates for us. And when they moved on to different banks, they took us on with their banks. And when the banks were, tightening their screws on real estate, on bank attorneys, they got us on the lists. Being nice to the people in the back office got us, exactly what we needed to get on the lists and get more work and get work from pretty much doing nothing. We were able to grow organically as bank attorneys just from quote unquote being the nice guys and being respectful to people who other people were kind of dumping on.
I, I know I'm interrupting you, Seth, but so I have over the past few decades talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of attorneys. And I can't tell you again, because I mentioned this to you before, I'm sure, when we spoke, this concept of being nice as a core law firm value and focusing on the little people, not the people with the biggest cash registers of money. And then this idea that you were kind enough to share with me about the value of building relationships earlier on in your career. I got to ask you how that resonates now with you in terms of not only how you treat your people for sure, but your clients, all the people you interact with. Because right now, your name is on the masthead, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really important. It has to do with how we feel every single day when we're at work. I mean, when we treat people great, we take our time, we listen to our clients, we listen to the people who are, advocating on behalf of other people. We try and take a respectful approach to pretty much all the challenges that come our way. Look, not every deal is perfectly uncontentious,
Mm.
but if you take the time and you respect the other side and you don't come across as adversarial even when you have to be a little bit adversarial, but sometimes digging your heel in the sand and starting a fight where you could just say, all right, so you've got your position, I've got my position. I
Mhm.
respect that you have to take your position, but at the end of the day, we have to come to some kind of compromise. Usually works better than just digging your feet in the sand and getting angry and calling names and throwing hands.
I've heard from so many different attorneys the idea of a confrontational relationship with opposing counsel, that this notion of meeting people, negotiating in good faith and building, strong bonds first, or at least minimizing the contentiousness, as you said, that sounds to me like a fundamental flip in methodology. I mean, how are you able to do that? And yet we all know law firms are compensated on either a transactional or, billable hour basis. I mean, that being nice isn't a revenue generating tool, is it?
I mean, I think it has been. Um, Certainly with our clients don't want you to take an adversarial position to them. They want you to be on on their side.
Right, right.
Um, but more importantly, we know these things that we do inside and out. We know the contracts, we know the numbers, we know the details. But our clients don't always necessarily know. It's not intuitive for them. So sometimes just taking the time and being patient with your
Mm.
clients and taking the time and explaining everything to them and explaining what's right, what's wrong, what is what are the different scenarios and possibilities that are going to come up. um, this is how a lot of our clients feel about um, closing dates being very fluid in New York, or closing costs being expensive on a particular type of transaction. Um, we try to head off every little thing that could happen during the course of the transaction, explain it to the clients, go through it with them, so there aren't really any surprises. And if there is a situation that comes up that we brought up to them, we just let them know, like, hey, we discussed that you were going to have the possibility of this coming up, and just now we've got to come to a solution, and I want to work it out with you, kind of thing. But just taking the time with your clients, making sure that they feel respected, making sure that they don't have questions unanswered. I mean, I've taken an approach, and my partner's taken an approach, and my associate Todd Schwartz has also taken the approach that if a client's emailing us, even at like 1 o'clock in the morning, if we're awake, we like to respond to that email. We don't like to leave anything unanswered. Somebody's got a large transaction going on at the time. Um, having a mystery unanswered is going to stress them out, and we don't like our clients being stressed out. We like to take our clients' stress. We like to stress out about it, figure it out, kind of talk about it at the water cooler a little bit, and come up with solutions, and make it work before our client even has to deal with the stress.
Yeah. And just well, as we kind of approach the end of our time together, Seth, one of the things that kind of I hear over and over again as you talk through your methodology or your approach to working with clients is I can't help but get away from two words, which is being empathetic and having sensitivity to what their challenges and wants and needs are. And you've said in some iteration the last few minutes about coaching and counseling and nurturing, which sounds a lot like what you were sharing your experience teaching in a kindergarten classroom. And I mean, not to kind of get too philosophical about it, but that sounds like your kind of methodology. So I guess, one of the last things I'd ask you this morning is, as we move into next year and beyond, for you and your partner, Jonathan, like, where do you see the evolution of Romanik and Skolnick going? How do you kind of foresee growth, especially with regard to building out an even stronger culture that can reward you through some strong reputational branding? Because people know you as a resident expert and subject matter expert in all things real estate in New York.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank God we are still growing in this culture. I mean, this year and in the last 12 months, we actually finally cracked the list of the top firms in New York City for a transaction. We're one of only two firms in New York to make the Real Deals list of top transactions in New York.
But that's not a goal, right? That's an outcome of all the things that you've put into growing the business and the lessons you learned throughout your career.
That's correct. But I think that our goal is we need to grow. I mean, our banking business is down tremendously, but our real estate transactions, our buyers and sellers are up. I think that our goal right now is just going to be to, now that we are, a real powerhouse, we want to take our business and make it even greater for more people. We are now representing, developers, we're representing condominiums, we're representing co-ops. We really want to be the culture that is New York real estate. We want people to come to a firm because they're empathetic, because they're diligent, because we're, conscientious, and because we are the nice guys who make deals work, who get things done fast, who get things done right, and the guys who get things done nicely.
Hey, dude, you just summarized what I was going to ask next, which is core values of the firm. You just nailed it. So listen, Seth, before we kind of part ways today, and first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for appearing on Chasing-the-Dream. But so if folks are interested in having a follow-up conversation with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
People can always give me a call. My phone number is 718-624-2240. Again, that's Seth Romanik, 718-624-2240. And I love getting emails. My email address is Seth Seth@rsnick.com. That's Seth@rsnick.com. And any questions you have, I would love to help you out.
Hey, Seth, listen, thanks so much again for joining Chasing the Dream, and keep the faith. And here's to an amazing 2024.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Ethan.
Not